This episode, we're going to take a break from all the craziness of the Digilinks and technology and just go back to the paper days and take a look at a few of these brochures and magazines and just see what's in them. Next up on IJDM. Stop, wait, no, let's not do the intro. Let's just get into this and just go through a few of these. And where should we start? Well, we'll just look through this. This would be the product catalog for the Sony VHS line of 1992. I believe they were still making betas, but I don't happen to have that brochure. And yeah, I had that VHS VCR back in the day. There's actually two models. I believe one was the 595 and the other one was the 696. One came with a flying erase head and a few extra functions. The other one's about the same, minus what I just said. But very cool remotes with a jog and shuttle dial there. Not much to say. It's a magazine. We're just kind of taking it easy. I mean, we've been so crazy on this channel with those old Digilink systems and stuff. I just thought, let's just take a break and just kind of look through some stuff and some old tech that I really don't have, and I don't know if I'd really still want, because having, when at the time I decided to get rid of these machines, they were just experiencing all kinds of craziness with belts and things going wrong. So it's just, there's so much mechanical stuff in these things that it takes a lot of time to restore them properly. But yeah, there we go. We got the 595 and the 696. I think there was a few extra buttons on the door there. Very cool looking that. And look at this one, man. This thing was like, wow. I mean, I had the drop down. That's very similar to a one of the last beta decks that came out that Sony made. So I'm wondering if they were supposed to be kind of a pair, because they kind of have that similar look. It's weird because on the outside door you can just see the timer. You can't even see the VU meters, which is an interesting design choice. But after this year of VCRs, they did drop the VU meter thing entirely. Over the years, they had been making them smaller and smaller, and, well, I should say shorter, not really smaller. They were longer on the previous model, but they kept making them smaller and smaller, and by this period, it was the last year that they would do that sort of thing, which, I don't know, it kind of gave to me, the VU meter thing kind of gave it life, kind of made it, you could see it working. It was actually doing its thing, and, other than the timer, but just one of my personal preferences. And there's one without the thing. And the other thing I think they did change the following year too is the displays became more, they didn't have as much in them, obviously, is what I'm getting at there. Yeah, okay, well, that is that magazine. Okay, well, that was all right. I don't know. Some people may be into this, some people may not. Let's go with the 1991 product catalog. And there's some interesting stuff in here for me. What happened was I was going through an old crate and I was like, just kind of looking through, and I'm like, oh wow, I can't believe I still have these. I mean, this is like, I've had these since these. I remember going to the store and picking these brochures up at Sears or whatever hi-fi store was around at the time. Silo, if you lived in Syracuse area, or if you lived down in the Tampa Bay area, it was Sound Advice, and there was a few others, of course. But yeah, that was the top of the line. That was the one you wanted. But of course, when you're in that age group and you're not making much money, well, yeah, you had to settle for something a little on down the line. And I didn't have either one of these. I don't think I ever owned one. I mean, I have bought, sold, traded receivers all through the years, but this was the one I actually owned. This was the AV770. Yeah, and it did have the little VU meters here, but not as fancy as the dancing full spectrum ones they showed on the previous page. But hey, for a starter receiver, it was pretty cool, and being that age, and it was neat. The other thing that kind of sucked too is they gave you this really crappy remote, and you really had to like have this upgraded remote to get full functionality out of the remote. And I believe a friend of mine actually had this receiver, which is I think that's pretty much the bottom level one. And of course we go into some 5-disc changers. Yeah, those were a thing back in the day. Most of my friends had 5-disc changers. I just had a single one. I think I did have a 5-disc for a while when I was in college, but it's long gone now. And those are probably the hardest pieces of retro tech to work on, because I find a lot of them don't actually function properly anymore. And I mean, make a comment below if you feel differently about them, but I find just something with the mechanisms inside, you're almost better off getting a single tray, CD unit if that's what you're looking for a retro piece of equipment. And then the 10-disc changer. I bet you there's not very many of these working anymore. And yeah, they get fancy, and this catalog's a little falling apart. And then I had this, nope, I had this one. I had that CD player, the bottom of the line one. Saved for months out of my paycheck to get it. And of course, I never had a DAT machine. I mean, it would have been cool. And we're into the tape decks now. And by this period of time, they'd switched over to the LED type display that it was more like a screen with set, numbers and stuff in it, rather than the old style one, which I'll think I have oh yeah, okay, yeah, we're in the right year here. You see, the upper models had these, and they later changed the lower ones to also have those as well. But yeah, this is the tape deck I always wanted, and I actually have it. But if it's one of those videos, I had a problem with the footage and it was just totally unusable, but it was me trying to basically fix this thing, and I thought I got it, but I didn't. I don't know what my next step is. I don't know very many repair techs in the Tampa Bay area, and for me to spend the money to get it fixed right now, I don't know. I'm going to talk to a few different, there's still a few hi-fi shops that do repair around here, so maybe I'll talk to one and see if they can do anything with it. Then of course down the lower models, and then they have this fancy deal with the 3-head. And wow, they still had a lot of tape decks in the lineup by that point, or cassette decks rather. And some interesting speaker series here. Nothing spectacular. Some tower speakers, some bookshelf style speakers here, and then all the specs of the different things in the back of the brochure here. Pretty neat. I don't know. It's kind of cool looking at this stuff, comparing, what was then and what is now. Obviously, back in that era, the view meter thing, graphic equalizer, spectrum analyzer, whatever you want to call it, was a thing with a lot of electronics that you just don't see it anymore. Maybe in some of those car stereo units and stuff, you'll see them occasionally, but I mean, not to the extreme Sony did them. And years later, I did on the top of the line one, I did have this receiver, and I do not remember if I sold it or what happened to it, but God, that thing was a fancy thing. It had a mode selection where it changed the colors or the lights down here to a different mode, and it was a fun little unit. Oh wow, brings me back. And then yeah, my buddy had that one, I'm pretty sure, or that one. They look almost identical to me. I mean, probably just an extra input. Yeah, it looks like there's more inputs on it. That one has less as you go down the series, and then this looks like almost the same one that we looked at before in the other brochure. So we're just going to find a thumb through. Got your 5-disc changers here, and if you want to look at something more closely, just hit the pause button. Pause me. Tell me to be quiet, and you can quietly look at it and read whatever. That's why I'm kind of not thumbing through too quick, but I don't want to bore viewers that don't feel like hitting that pause button. And we're on to CD players. And interesting stuff here. And there's the DAT machine again. And a 5-cassette changer. Now that is interesting. Wow. I didn't even know Sony made a product like that. I never even really thought about it. But yeah, that's I believe a tray slid out and you could put 5 cassettes in there. Maybe we'll see. That's something I'll probably again never own, just because I'm sure it any of them that are out there are going to need work at this point. I'll save that one for one of those guys like Tecmone or whatever that works on these things and actually can get them working or has a good chance of doing it, or some any one of those other channels that does the type of thing. Yeah, I'm rambling. Yeah, I did not have that cassette deck. I had this cassette deck. No, I did not have that cassette deck. I had that cassette deck. I had the WR590. I'd always wanted the other one that I have now. I just like the aesthetics of it better, and I think it had a few more functions on it that were better than this one, but this is the cassette deck I had most of the time when I had my hi-fi system, component system back in the day. And then we're on to more cheap cassette decks, and this thing is pretty cool looking. Never saw one of those out in the wild, surprisingly. I've seen different versions of them that are like partially amp, partially this or that, but I've never actually seen a right and left graphic equalizer like this with the spectrum analyzer on there. And then of course we got all our specs again here in the back. So that is the Sony brochure from 1992. All right, let's move right on here. just something else cool I found. I'm not going to thumb through this, but I did buy a 2002 Honda Accord sedan, and I happened to find this thing, and I was like, oh wow, I actually kept this. I thought this was long gone, but yeah, there it is. That was the vehicle I had. An old 2002 Honda Accord LX, because I couldn't afford the EX. We'll save that one. Okay, yeah, you saw it already. We'll save that one for last for you gamers out there. But yeah, this is a pretty cool find. I don't know where I got this or when, but just look at this. Format face-off, and you got them all represented here. You got yourself high 8 8mm. Is that 8mm? I can't really see what that is even with my glasses. It looks like a 3, but I think it's supposed to be an 8. You got Super Beta there, Ed Beta. You got VHS and SVHS, and they pick out the best picture. And if we see what it is, I'll tell you who won at the end of the video. Who won the format face-off anyways? It's on page 38. Something about laser discs. Oh wow! Remember when you used to have piles of videotapes in your living room? This is a oh wow! Here it is. Yep. What is this? No, this is not Columbia House. This is CBS Video Club. So that must have been another one that was around at the time, or maybe Columbia House bought them out. The Doves seem to concur. Something on a Sony, or no, it's a Canon camcorder. There's nothing wrong with your TV set. Okay, outer limits. You get the whole collection. I think that's free right now on one of the channels on Roku or something. Right now you can watch them for free, the old ones and the newer ones from the 90s. Laserdisc ad. Yeah, they tried so hard with Laserdisc, and I had one. And I got to say, it was a definite improvement in video quality, but it was just a disc. I mean, at the time, were considered expensive. They were twice the cost of a normal videotape, and it was just like, oh, man. And they were the size of, LP albums, so they weren't exactly the easiest to store or transport. But, and yeah, you did have to flip the disc, but to me, that was like the perfect time to have a little intermission and, do what you got to do if you're watching a long movie. I have no idea what I'm looking at here. It looks like some kind of Video 8 portable thingamajig. Sugar Ray and Robert Duran's lackluster fight in HD. So this must have been the earlier parts of HD. Oh, this has got to be a Columbia House. Nope. Oh, it's CBS Columbia House. Okay, so it must be maybe I don't know, they merged, or if it was known of that at one point. I wonder if anybody's ever done a video on that. Yeah, I bumped the camera. I always do that. Oh, what is this ugly thing? Oh, good God. Even for that era, that's just ugly. Bulbous electronics from the 90s were just, just ugly to me. It's like, I like the sharper lines and this, just the more rectangular look than the roundy, weird, 90s kind of, mid-90s, late 90s, 2000 era. And those fads come and go. Obviously, we went back more to a more streamlined look, but now I've noticed it's starting to kind of change back again. You say the same with graphics and all kinds of other stuff you see on videos and movies and news, TV, sports. Well, what do we got here? Some kind of processors, I guess. I don't think it's is it a receiver? It says it realistically recreates acoustic environments. What if anybody has any of this stuff? Make a comment. Go like, hey, yeah, I had one of those. It was really cool. Or I still have it in my basement or whatever. Oh, and there's the videotape cleaner, rewinder things. Oh, those things were everywhere. Any magazine, I mean, they were just everywhere. Ways to improve video view. Got some VCRs. That's pretty cool. I remember that was the Panasonic OmniVision. There's those cool view meters. Looks like they were like red. Usually red was reserved for overmodulation, but or maybe they're orange. It just looks red in the picture. Yeah, see, I prefer that look over that look. That just to me looks, I don't know. This looks more professional to me than this bulbous, roundish thing. And remember, we're going back in that era, though. I mean, round windows, and I don't get it. But we got here a JVC disc player. Oh, this is the somebody featured this on YouTube, and I can't remember who, so I'm not going to say I'm sure you could actually do a search for it, but it was the JVC graphics display thing, and I think it was kind of a shoot off to me. I think of what was it called? Video CD video or video CD. I know it's one's the wrong term and one's the right term. They're basically CDs that had video on them, and the difference on those you could tell because the discs were usually gold colored, and they usually have one or two music videos or some kind of video content on them. Okay. Yeah, this is I guess making the most out of your camcorder shots. Okay, a little intro. Wow, look at this remote. Wow. Things like part Star Trek communicator, part like crazy Stargate Atlantis interface thing. It's wow. We were crazy with our remotes back then, weren't we? We simplified those definitely over the years, and all kinds of these magazine type. You can order a camcorder, supposedly save some money. The black box, yeah. The whole VHS copy guard thing was a big pain in the butt for everybody, and there's ways around it. Beta, but VHS, it was just brutal sometimes. I'm sure somebody else also covered that already on YouTube, but I don't really have a way of covering it other than just explaining it. And the idea was if you had a VHS and a beta, you could rent most videos from the video store and then copy them, borrow them, and put them over to beta, and it wouldn't recognize the VHS copy guards. That was the trick back in the day. I don't have any more of those movies, so I guess I can say that, but I mean, everybody was copying tapes back then, or I know some people that did some sinister stuff where they'd actually take the reels, copy the tape, take the reels and swap them for the original and then bring the rental tape back. I mean, yeah, I worked at a video store. We saw that a few times. We got some more component stuff here, and speakers and stuff about movies. And what is this? Yeah, like, I mean, it was like serious gear. Like if you were a real video person, you wanted to, editing controllers and stuff like that. I mean, oh man, the buttons on those things. I mean, even in the pro world, I don't, stuff like that, just, I don't know. It's almost frightening because even in the pro world, I don't remember it being that complicated. But I guess that was the era. Like we wanted buttons. We wanted buttons everywhere and switches and fun stuff like that. And yeah, just a bunch of ads we're running into here. And we're pretty much at the end. Ads. It's mostly ads. A few more other things here, but this one's getting boring. But we got to go back and find out who won the format face-off. We need to know. All right, I thought I had gotten rid of this. I think I sold one at one point, and then I picked up another one at a flea market or something somewhere. I can't remember, but I don't even know what these things go for now. I think they've gone up in value because I'm sure they've been disappearing. But when Nintendo first came out, this is pretty much when, and I can't say exactly when because I don't know. A gamer would know this when the first like strategy, hints, tips, magazines or books came out. If it was Atari era but I remember it more around the Nintendo era. And even before, I think they had like Nintendo Power and Game something or other. They had all these different magazines, but this was pretty much one of the first ones that, I don't know if Nintendo ever did a follow-up on this. I probably should have looked that up before I did this video. I just kind of wanted to thumb through it real quick. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because it is pretty big. But yeah, this helps you get through Zelda. I mean, these books were legitimate, that they could really help you with your gameplay. They gave complete layouts of who all the characters were and what their strengths and weaknesses were. And then, I mean, a whole map. So you couldn't get lost. So if you were looking at a screen, you go, oh, I'm here. And if I want to get there, I go there. Yeah, you get the idea. And then the mazes, it actually tells you how to get through the different mazes. I mean, I think the last time I played that game was back in the 90s, and I had one of these books, and I was able to use that to solve the game. Good old Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. That was a thing back in the day. I think at some point they just changed it to Punch-Out. We got Commando here, Super Mario Brothers, and I'm going to kind of skip around. This gave the whole Super Mario layout. Even the infamous world, or was it number 8 or whatever was it called? World 4 or something. It was one of the last ones that was a maze. It tells you how to go through it and get through it properly. Yeah, Top Gun. How many of us remember, whether you were in the arcade or had it on Nintendo, you just, half the time you couldn't land on that dang aircraft. Just couldn't do it. It was like you thought you had it perfect, and then it'd go crash into the ocean. You're like, ah, great. Now I got to start with one less life on stage 2. Oh, I think there was a cheat to that game, but where it would land you, despite how bad you were doing. And there's Zelda 2. Despite how bad you were doing, it would land you. There was some kind of cheat thing you could do. It was a Game Genie or something they called it. And we got Metroid, and of course, this is the same thing with all the walkthroughs. Like another one of my favorites that was in here was I believe it's called Goonies 2. Yeah, this book. If you could never figure out the game, this is what you needed. You really did need this to get through the game, because this was like the maze of all mazes. This is the type of game where you go through the whole thing and then you actually have to go back to the beginning, get a ladder, and climb up to get to the next, set of things. And you have to collect all this stuff on the way too. So it was an interesting game. It's probably one of the first earlier free roaming games that I knew of. I mean, it was an open world per se, but it would let you go and do pretty much whatever you wanted for the most part, without having to get everything. Of course, if you didn't, you wouldn't be able to move on and you'd be stuck in certain places. But yeah, that was the Nintendo official Nintendo Player's Guide. Yeah, pretty cool. I'm not going to throw that because I don't know if these things are worth money or not. So now we're gonna find out. Okay, let's find out real quick. This video's gone long enough. Like I say, we're just chilling out, hanging out today, and we're gonna go to page 38 and find out who won it and wrap this video up for the day. And this one's not going to have all my normal credits and stuff like that, because this is just kind of one of my one-off. I almost could say this is almost like a filler thing. So there it is, and we're looking through. Well, here's the thing. None of them exactly won, but let's just go through the categories. I thought this was just going to tell me everything. LaserVision pretty much took, Laserdisc took them on all categories and all counts, followed by pretty much Ed Beta and Super Beta. VHS pretty much fell third. SVHS won out over Super Beta for noise. That's interesting. And I'm wondering if this is comparative, like they tried a few different manufacturers' units and different tapes and stuff. But yeah, basically, here's the outcome. Basically, Laserdisc won at number 1 all categories. As far as number 2, it was a mix between Super Beta, Super VHS. So each one had their strong points and their weak points. And I really don't want to get into the Beta VHS debate. I mean, I know which one was better because I had all the formats. I had Super VHS, VHS, Beta, Super Beta, and I pretty much know, but everyone has an opinion on that. That will do it for this IJDM. Again, thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.